Hello, my moon goddesses. Thank you for being here with me again today. What are you willing to sacrifice? Or what are you willing to give up? What are you willing to lose in service of your heart's desires, your heart's truth? And secondly, are you being quiet enough to hear what your heart desires? And when I say quiet enough, it's mentally quiet as well as physically quiet, right? What are you willing to lose and sacrifice? Are you willing to lose your mind, so to speak, right? Again, are you being quiet enough? What are you willing to lose? Are you so determined on this path of emotional mastery, of authenticity, of intuition, of unconditional love, of living from a radical, open heart, unconditional love space? If that is your path, and if it's not your path, I'm not sure why you're here. But if that's your path, are you really, truly willing to lose something? Lose, I use that term loosely. Are you willing to lose something over and over again? Are you willing to sacrifice something over and over again in service to your heart's truth? And sometimes that sacrifice it's all a mental thing, right? A belief system. What are you valuing more? Are you valuing more the logical making sense? Or are you valuing the heart recognition, the heart alignment, the energetic recognition? Have you even done enough work in your feminine energy, in your emotional mastery and maturity? Have you done enough work to even recognize that? Of when you're saying yes to something because it makes sense mentally, and when you're saying yes to something because it makes sense to your heart and may not make sense to your head. Because the intuition is telling you it makes sense. This is a really challenging way to live in our world that is still so driven by an overexertion of masculine energy, of thinking and logical and reasonable. And there's not enough miraculous, magical, mystical, and darkness. And when I say darkness, I mean you literally only see the very next step in front of you, and you don't see the whole path ahead of you. So it creates this blind trust. And that's really where it's at. Blind, the word blind, like when I said that just really like blew through to me. It is blind, so to speak, because you're feeling your way through the dark. You're feeling your way one decision at a time, because it's not about what you see. And isn't that what manifestation is? Manifestation, real, true, miraculous, big, crazy manifestation is believing in yourself quietly, in your heart space, in your intuition, you're trusting the pull. You're trusting this inner self, sense of self. It doesn't make any logical sense, but you know this thing is meant for you. You know this thing is possible. And so you are very carefully, deliberately, intentionally, mindfully making one decision after another that you feel aligns you with this miraculous manifestation that you want. It's much like putting this in more concrete physical terms. It's like I often think of it in the sense of like any man in history who invented something radical, right? Like electricity. Okay, before we had electricity, if you can just imagine for a moment, I love to kind of imagine this scenario, right? If there was no electricity and someone's walking around being like, oh, I know there's this thing, and then we can have lights in our homes in the dark, and it will change our lives and make everything so much better. And this thing doesn't exist. And so someone walking around saying that is going to be looked at as a crazy person. And to me, that's what real manifestation is. The bigger meaning of it is when you know something is possible that maybe even your current reality tells you it's not possible, and yet you are willing to take on a long-term game here, so to speak, a long-term game and process of patience and trust and feeling your way through the dark. Because you know what? Maybe no one else has done it before. And if no one else has done it before, you do have to figure out and feel your own way through it. Or maybe you want something in your life that you personally haven't experienced. And maybe you do see other people having the thing that you want, but you've never personally experienced it. And so you're trying to find how to achieve this state of being or this manifestation that you want. But maybe you don't have all the answers of how to get there, right? You don't have all the answers. And so you have to figure it out on your own, feeling through the dark of how to get to this thing, and then having a faith and belief in yourself that no matter how long it takes, you'll get there. And it isn't about the time. It isn't about how long it takes. It's about the journey and getting there. I said in my last video, my first video on this channel, I love the phrase, no matter what. And I'm kind of using it again in this video, but in a slightly different way. No matter what, if you tack that onto a thing, you've automatically brought in the element of unconditional love, which is entirely what Goddesses of the Moon is to me. Unconditional love and intuition and emotional mastery. And if we bring that in to as many kinds of things as we can, all of a sudden we're bringing in a level of divinity, because anything is unconditional loving and doesn't have any conditions on it. Now it is divine. So I just was saying, no matter how long it takes, we're removing the condition of time, which requires a whole new belief system in the self, because if something is taking too long, the tendency is to think that, oh, maybe it's not meant for me, or maybe I'm crazy to think this is possible, or I'm some kind of thought that makes me feel like I'm not good enough to have this thing. What if you are? And achieving this thing is only a matter of removing all of those blocks that are blocking you from actually having the thing, because maybe time is a big thing to you. And that was always a thing that tripped me up for a long time in my own journey too, due to my childhood and issues and challenges and traumas I've had to deal with, is never learning how to stay in something for a really long time, much longer than is personally comfortable for me, and kind of tapping myself out of the game too soon, right? I think that's a huge thing. Can be used in many contexts. For a lot of women, it's in the realm of anxiety or anxious energy. Not going to go down that path today. So, back to my original question. What are you willing, first of all, are you really willing? Are you willing to sign a contract with yourself? In my healing sessions with clients, I talk a lot about contracts and agreements. Sometimes these contracts and agreements are verbal agreements that we create in our relationships with others so that everyone is on the same page and everyone knows and is clear about the expectations. Because clearly, if we're not agreeing that these are the expectations and this is what happens in this whatever scenario, can get into a lot of trouble, right? Because you're not speaking and making clear the ground rules or the expectations or how this is gonna go, right? So I talk a lot about contracts and agreements, but it's the same within ourselves, because it's all that masculine and feminine internal energy and relationship internally that then helps us to be that way externally in our external relationships. So are you willing to make an agreement, sign on the dotted line with yourself, that no matter how long it takes, and no matter what, I am willing to sacrifice it all in service of manifesting and living a life that is aligned with my heart's desires, trusting myself and my intuitive guidance every step of the way. This is what this channel is going to be. This is what we will talk about here. And I challenge you right now, if you are willing to make that agreement and contract with yourself, drop me a heart emoji in the comments below. And that is you signing that contract with yourself. Because if we physically do something to anchor in an internal intention or an internal decision, when we anchor it in a physically visual way, you've already made the first step in that direction, and you can celebrate that. You've already taken your first step into feeling your way through the dark. So you're already on the way. And it really helps the mind to get in line with it. It really helps the masculine aspect of ourselves to get into action for the next step and to protecting and honoring and supporting this agreement, because now we've made it physical. And the masculine energy is the physical. The feminine energy is the spiritual, ethereal, and emotional, the unseen world. So now they're working together. I am so excited to see all of your comments below. Thank you again so much for being here. Do let me know if you found me here organically on your own, or if you found me here through my first channel here on YouTube, Inhale Love with Suze. And if you're looking for more basic guidance along feminine energy, masculine energy, I really recommend you do go over, check out my videos over there. I talk a lot about feminine energy and becoming more feminine in your life in general, right from the very beginning of your journey, your feminine energy journey. Thank you so much for being here. I'm sending so much love to you all. See you on the next one.